The birth of Thorun was brought about by the Divine Guardians after their long journey from the edge of the universe. They discovered a barren, wasteland world where three gods enslaved strange creatures called the Urisk, the earliest forms of the goblin. After banishing the dark gods, Vecna, the undying king, Bane, the lord of darkness, and lord of murder, the abyss, they used their magics to bring life to this world, filled it with seas and oceans, lush green forests and grasslands. With each different guardian, they created their own style of races and wildlife around Thorun. Centaurs, fauns, Ulmer, the lizard folk, Athmer, the cat folk, fire dwarves, swamp dwarves, stone heart dwarves, sea dwarves, frost dwarves, the Melmer, the silver star elves, a rare elven race that protects Thorun. The Abolmer, the Sunfire Elves, Drakmer, the Dragon Blood Elves, Shadmer, the Shadow Elves, Siegmer, Snow Elves, Hazelmer, Green Elves, Uruk, the first breed of all. Over the millennia, the Alvor Elves grew in reputation and population and technology that overshadowed the power of the Guardians, beginning to conquer, enslave, and genocide other races around Thorun. At some point in the Mythic era, the Avalor Elves experimented on themselves with the intention of extending their lifespan using dragon blood. They increased in size and longevity. The Avalor, now believing themselves superior elvenkind, renamed themselves the Drakmer, Dragon Blood Elves.
The humans of Kaldraa have had significant influence with the cooperation of the races from the Dawn Age up until the Second Era. The mass migration at the end of the Dawn Age is one of the several elements that shaped the course of Kaldra's history. The Dovolovians, once a proud and noble seafaring empire, now is a shell of its former self. After centuries of having a mighty naval presence throughout the Plutona Sea, is now a corrupt republic. Within the towns and cities, the classes are quite visible. The rich hoard their money for themselves, whilst the poor have been scrapped to what they can steal. The middle class would rather bargain with the rich by selling them illegal items or smuggling them slaves to sell. The Arathians, one of the largest human cultures in all of Kaldraa, with many regions of different dialects within the continent. You might be surprised that Orath once had no humans, until mass migration of the Dawn Age, when humans spread themselves like wildfire across an ancient forest. There was once a great empire in the southern part of Orath named the Osragoth Empire, that reigned for most of the First Era. At the beginning of the Second Era, as the economy crumbled and they could no longer afford a standing army, From there, rebellious factions that turned into either kingdoms, duchies, or unitary states forced the empire to reform into a republic in 112 of the Second Era. However, change still looms over Orath, with the new threat from the Everlight of Ominous cult. No one can determine what shape this land will take. The Terradons, known as the first men of Terrafell, the Terradons have had a long standing as the first humans so settled to Kaldraa. First recorded human settlements were built in Terrafell and rapidly expanded across most of Kaldraa. The population of the Terradons dwindled when the Temerian domain expanded their empire in the 3rd century of the First Era, eradicating almost all of the Terradon culture. Now, with the Arathian conquest in 1423 First Era, destroying the Temerian domain, and subsequently reinventing the Terradon's culture with the Arathian culture. Few still practice the old ways, especially within Norvenia.
One of the rarest types of metal to be found, and the hardest to break on Kaldraa. Scholars and metalsmiths have been writing about this mysterious ore since the beginning of the First Age, when the stars fell upon the lands, giving us this unique substance. Religious figures, however, claim it's a gift from the gods to aid us in a time of need. Whatever the source of the ore is, it is a strange metal. Some sources claim that the ore is melted at an estimate 3,410 Celsius, requiring an exponentially hot magical fires. When heated, it glows with a silvery white light, enough to blind anyone without something covering their eyes. Hence the name, bright steel. The ore that the bright steel is made from is called stellamite, an old human word that translates to fallen star. The first reported bright steel sword was in 32 of the First Era, when a blacksmith named Marcus Aurelius was mining in the Blue Ice Mountains on Orath. When he discovered the strange material, he collected as much of the ore he could and brought it back to his hometown, where he showed off his discovery. Everyone thought he was mad, as it looked to them like any other old ore, but he had a gut feeling, and so he began his work on this new material. After a week of forging, he finally created a mighty weapon out of the newly discovered metal, a long sword named Midnight Sunrise. Over the centuries, many more bright steel weapons and armor have been forged. Most, unfortunately, have been lost throughout time. But will you find yours?
Once called Murkmire Forest before the Second Era, located in the southern part of the Crown Lands in the Wyverian Empire and beneath the Alamouth Mountains. This ancient forest covered all of the southern tip of Terrafell. It was dangerous. Most of the inhabitants of this region of the forest was full of large webs made by poisonous giant spiders, known only as the demons of children of Lolth. Giant spiders of Murkmire, their viscera was iridescent gold and purple in colour. If it came into contact with a humanoid skin, it had a burning and irritating effect, leaving the skin inflamed with red splotches. However, it was mostly harmless. Other than the giant spiders, the forest has many other species: deer, birds, squirrels, raccoons, dogs, rabbits. Most stay away from the carnivorous spiders, unless they are trapped in the giant webs after being confused. Nowadays, the forest is only 1/3 of its size. Most visitors who travel to the town of Webshore don't see any spiders, as the last great queen of the spiders, Aluth, was slain by the first Lord of Webshore, Justin Webb. And after that, the Lord's small force wiped out all the giant spiders in the forest. But that doesn't mean they're all gone, does it?